The time we did the egg retrieval, it took about a month since the moment we got to Colombia, which shouldn't have taken that long, but again, you're working with the clinic continuously to make sure that everything was done correctly, to make sure that we have the appointments, all that stuff.
But you should expect it for it to take at least a couple weeks because the egg donor does have to do the medicine and everything like that. So.
Yeah, and also a good thing that to remember though is you have to pay 50% in the moment they do the egg retrieval and then 50% at the moment they do the transfer. So a good thing to keep in mind as well.
To the clinic, not the surrogate.
We did the egg retrieval, we retrieved the eggs, and that moment we went from Bogota to my home city, which is Pereira. We stayed there for about, I believe like about 2 weeks that we stayed in Pereira, and that was the time that it took for the results of the embryos to come back. It's about 2.5 weeks, right? And the first days they have to develop into blastocysts. Once they develop, that's when they do the testing and they test for 1,000 different diseases, and then that takes about 2 weeks. It's like about 2.5 weeks. We had to align our surrogate's menstrual cycle to the transfer date, right? So that took about 1.5 months since she already had her cycle very previously to us creating the embryos. So she had to get ready, get the medicine, make sure that everything's good. And within those days, we just got to enjoy Colombia.
Which was amazing. We went to Medellin, we went to Pereira, we went to these amazing hot springs. What were they called, the hot springs?
Termales de Santa Rosa de Cabal.
That place was amazing. It was really affordable, and you have this amazing hot spring. But also we went to, when you're in Bogota, I recommend going to Catedral de Sal, the salt cathedral. Gorgeous underground mine, salt mine, active salt mine, but they've turned into this beautiful cathedral that's near Bogota. If you go to Medellin, Medellin is also amazing. If you've got some time, got a couple weeks, it's a very cheap flight just to get around. We happen to drive. We drove all over the country, but you can definitely get like a $50 flight from Bogota to Medellin or anywhere else you might want to go, Cali.
Yeah. It was definitely an adventure. We went from Bogota to Pereira in car that took about 8 hours drive. It's definitely a good way to just get to know the country.
The whole country.
Yeah,
it was
for
beautiful,
sure.
yeah.
We did that whole road trip, and we got to Pereira, we waited, we just got to go to beautiful places, see waterfalls, see beautiful things.
Amazing coffee.
We stayed with my family, so Kyle was...
You're not going to want to leave. I want to go back so badly.
Kyle loved my family for sure. Getting coffee every single morning, getting...
Culture is beautiful. The people are so welcoming, so beautiful. The food, it's just a live country. It's really, really beautiful. But I highly recommend don't stay in Bogota the whole time. Bogota, although it's very clean and metropolitan, it's actually my least favorite city of all of Colombia. So I recommend, you're going to be there already. If you have to wait for a week or two, go to Cartagena, go to the beach, go to Medellin, go to Pereira, go to other places. You'll be grateful you did.
So if you have that time while you're waiting and you're working from home, which I know most of us are now, right? A lot of people are. So if you're working from home, it's an amazing place to save money. Like for us, we use it as a way to save money in rent. We were paying a lot less money.
Because the process isn't cheap, right? You're gonna pay thousands of dollars to do it, tens of thousands maybe even. Yeah, if you can basically make up that difference by staying in Colombia for a few months, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, food is super cheap. We ended up spending like around $10, $15 a day for 2 people, which is amazing.
For like really good food.
And then
going out for really delicious meals.
Accommodation is cheap as well. We drove from Pereira to Medellin, which was a whole trip, and it was
oh my gosh,
amazing.
I recommend you don't drive if you aren't crazy like me, or if you're not from a place like that. The driving there can be pretty scary, not gonna lie. People drive a little crazy there. You know, the lines of road, kind of just suggestions for the most part. People are flying by, cutting you off.
Anyway, we are in Pereira, and that's when the transfer finally happened. So the transfer date took about 2.5 months since the moment we got to Colombia. But again, you don't necessarily have to stay there. You can just go donate your sperm and they take care of everything else. They will take their time
to take their time if you're not there on top of them to do it though.
Yeah, for sure. They'll take their time to take care of everything else, but at least you don't have to be in the country. You can just leave, right? If you're just donating. But for us, we decided to stay. So we waited, it was 2.5 months. That's when the surrogate was finally ready to do that transfer.
So we actually decided not to go to Bogota, to the clinic for the transfer, because we couldn't be in the room anyways. There's not really anything we can do. So we did stay in
Pereira.
Pereira. And so we decided to stay there while they did the transfer. Our surrogate, she was amazing. She just called us because the doctors in the office, the clinic, never told us anything. The only reason we knew anything about what was going on is because of our amazing godsend of a surrogate that we were blessed to get. She, called us right away to let us know how it all went. The procedure went really well. She told us she felt really good, and so we were just really happy with that. And so, we said our prayers and hoped for the best.
Yeah, and the surrogate, it's very important. Sometimes the clinics won't allow the surrogate to communicate with the parents for us because we found our own surrogate. We always had that connection. So it was easier for us to understand the process on the other set of eyes, not just the parents' eyes, but also what's happening in the surrogacy, like what they're saying, what the doctors are saying to her. So it made us a lot more ease because if not, the doctors are very bad, at least at the clinic we went, very bad at communicating with you. Obviously they're busy and they have many clients, but then it will take weeks for us to find out something from the clinic of how our process is going. It could be frustrating, especially if you're someone that just likes information. It can be very frustrating. For me, I want to make sure that it's happening. I am not crazy about the information, but you want to be on top of something that you pay all this money for. So the surrogate really helped us understand the process and stuff like that. So we finally did the transfer. And then when you do the transfer, you have to wait about 2 weeks for you to find out if you're pregnant or not.
But she was letting us know, she was really sweet. Within a few days, she was like, I definitely am pregnant. I feel the same way, because, they had to have already had children in the past, naturally. And so she was letting us know, she feels pregnant, and it feels just like it did when she had, her other kids, her sons. And so we were getting, really excited. So it was starting to get exciting. So we were supposed to wait 2 weeks for her to go back to the clinic to do the pregnancy test. I think a blood pregnancy test. But after about a week and a half, she's she couldn't wait anymore. She's like, I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna go buy a pregnancy test, just like the one at the store. So she went to the store and she went and bought a pregnancy test, right? And Hako was like, yeah, we want to know. And I was like, no, I don't want to know. Just wait. But they didn't want to wait. So she went and took a pregnancy test. She took it and it was very light. If you've ever seen a pregnancy test, there's either one line or 2 lines.
Looks like the COVID test that you get.
Yeah, 1 line means not pregnant, 2 lines means pregnant. And at least in this one. And the 1 line was definitely there. And then the other line was I don't know if that's there. Yeah. I wasn't convinced. I was like, that doesn't seem like she's pregnant, but it was so soon. Usually you take a pregnancy test weeks. Usually you don't even know you're pregnant until maybe a month after you're pregnant. So she went back the next day, right? Or 2 days later and got another pregnancy test from the store. And that one looked a little bit clearer, a little darker. I was like, okay, I think we're pregnant, right? And then she went 2 weeks when she was supposed to go to the doctors and to get the actual pregnancy test. And they confirmed that she was pregnant on our first transfer, which was really exciting.
Yeah. So we got super excited. We were like, okay, we were pregnant. We did it in the first try. That's amazing that happened because we were so many people sometimes it takes, it can be hard. I was like, oh, okay. We're young. We're probably gonna.
I kind of always assumed we'd get pregnant the first time though. I never even thought it wouldn't happen.
So we did that and I was excited. We were every day texting hey, how are you feeling? How is it feeling? All that stuff. She was very good in communicating. And then one night we just went to sleep and I turn off my phone when I sleep, but then in the morning I saw all these missed calls and messages from our surrogate and her friend, and then they had to go to the emergency room because she started bleeding very bad during the night, and she just chunks of blood, right, coming out. So she went to the emergency room, and then they weren't very sure if she had a miscarriage because they couldn't really see because it was foggy in the ultrasound. So that day we were like, okay, it seems like it could have been a miscarriage, but we don't know what's happening.
A Friday evening, she couldn't go to the clinic or something, right?
Yeah, she couldn't go. They were closed, so she had to go to the own emergency room for her insurance. So we were very worried, right? So I talked to my aunt, my family. My aunt was like, well, don't worry. Sometimes that happens. When my aunt was pregnant, she actually bled once she was pregnant, even a couple months. So I was like, okay.
But she was still pregnant.
She was still pregnant. So
yeah.
I was like, okay, maybe there's a hope there. Maybe we can still, like, the baby's still there. It's just like,
I guess it's like a phantom period or something some people get, and so we were hoping that was going to be the case. And
we definitely like prayed. I was like, well, it's gonna be okay, all this stuff. And we had a way to do the ultrasound, right? The first ultrasound. They basically told us like they wouldn't really be able to tell by just examining like her blood test and everything, because even if they did, she could still have high hormonal levels, so they weren't very sure. We had to wait until the ultrasound, and we were just every day I was like, okay, how are you feeling? Like, you're still feeling pregnant? She's like, yeah.
She did.
Like,
She said she still felt pregnant.
I still know that it's here, and just very hopeful, like, you know, it's gonna work. So we went back to Bogota. We were like, okay, we gotta
be
go
there to see.
for the
We wanted to be there for the
ultrasound.
ultrasound.
We wanted to be there for the ultrasound, and then as we were arriving in Bogota that same day, she started bleeding again. Yeah. So we were very careful. We every single day we were all texting her like, hey, are you bleeding? Like, how is it feeling? Because we were worried about her bleeding more and then getting the miscarriage, right? And then once we got there, that same day she started bleeding again, and then she went to the emergency room. We just arrived, and we actually were able to meet with her.
We like dropped her bags and like it was like across the street.
Yeah.
We dropped her bags and like ran across the street to meet with her. At the
Yeah, we were like, she was in the emergency room across the street. We were trying to find her. It was a whole thing. We had an issue with insurance, so they couldn't take care of her, so we had to go to a different hospital.
There in the emergency room with her.
Yeah,
for like
but also
4 hours.
in the drive, I was like, yeah, it was hard because like, in the drive, I was like encouraging her. She was very sad too, because, you know, for her it felt like she wanted to have this baby for us, and she really, really wanted it for us. So she was very shy, and she was very like down. So I just encouraged her throughout the drive. I was like, it's okay, it doesn't matter if it happened, if it was a miscarriage, it's just nature. Like, nature is perfect. You can just, you know, like, if it's not meant to happen, it's not meant to happen, and nature will just have that natural miscarriage, right? So like encouraging her, but also having that hope that it's still good. So we were just driving to the hospital, and then we had to wait. We had to wait a long time once we got in the hospital.
It was like peak COVID season, you know. It was, the hospitals were all backed up, and they weren't letting people in, and so we were in the waiting room for
a couple hours, like around
6 hours. 6 hours, yeah.
Yeah, we got there about 6. We ended up leaving around.
We were like 1. The last ones there.
Yeah, we ended up leaving like 1 or 2. But in the hospital, I sat down right next to her because Sally doesn't speak Spanish yet. He's working on that. But I talked to her, like, we just made jokes. We really had a good time through all this bad stuff that was happening and the worry, because I just didn't want her to just feel pressure or feel like we were somehow disappointed. Yeah, because it obviously wasn't her fault. And then we had to wait because the doctor, she is still very foggy in the ultrasound. So she really couldn't figure it out if the baby was still there or not. They couldn't see it, so she had to get a blood test, and for the results to come back, it takes a couple hours. So we had to go downstairs and get the paper, and yeah, when I got the results, it just seemed like we lost the baby. And then I had to go now upstairs and tell Kyle the news. And yeah, and tell her, for me, it was very hard. Obviously, she was very hopeful, and she really wanted this baby for us, and she already felt very guilty for it. So I had to go get the results, and I just did it very fast and just try to not make it emotional too, because for her, I know it would have been very, very hard as well.
Yeah, it was hard because we were like really hopeful, and when we got like the results, and you know, she took the pregnancy test, and we were like really excited. And, like, I mean, obviously we probably were celebrating a little too early, but it was tough. It's for sure heartbreaking, but trying not to show. Honestly, we were trying not to show her that we were sad or upset, because we didn't want her to feel worse than, you know, she was already feeling. So, so we basically, you know, we went home, we dropped them off, and we went back to our apartment and cried. I did. But yeah, like Aqua said, we knew that was a possibility. We knew it wasn't gonna for sure be the first time, and you know, people try to have children, you know, for weeks, months, years sometimes. So, so it wasn't the end of the world, you know, but it was tough for sure. It was also really tough because I really wanted to be there for the ultrasound to like to hear the heartbeat and stuff like that. And my visa, being an American, I was only allowed to stay in Colombia for 3 months. I had already extended my visa to be there for an extra month, and so we had already been there for 4 months, and basically we had to leave Colombia like a couple days after that. And so what that meant was we weren't going to be able to be there for, you know, the next transfer. We weren't going to be able to be there for the ultrasound. We weren't going to be able to be there for like the heartbeat and all that. So that was really hard for me for sure, because I really wanted to be there for that. So that's where we left off. Basically a couple days later, we hopped on a plane, and we, after being in Colombia for 4 months, arrived back in the United States, still not pregnant.
And also just, we made the decision to continue working with her. That was the first time we tried with her, right? That was the first time we tried. And then, yeah, we just hopeful, okay, like the second time will work and all this stuff. And then we just continue having our relationship and just talking every single day, all this stuff. But it was definitely tough, like having that kind of like wake-up call where like, oh yeah,
this might not be as easy as we thought.
So like, yeah, one piece of advice is just understand sometimes it's just, you know, it is what it is. It's nature, and life takes its courses, and there's nothing you can do but hope for the best and, you know, do whatever is possible. But at the end of the day, it's just...
all you can do is all you can do.
Yeah.
And all you can do is enough. If you liked, you know, our story, if you're, you know, hopefully finding some insights or hopefully some encouragement, hopefully not any discouragement, but, you know, like, subscribe, share the video with anyone you know that might be, you know, thinking about surrogacy, thinking especially specifically in Colombia, but really anywhere, the process is pretty similar. So hopefully we're able to go on this journey together.